If you're a Jan Blachowicz fan, this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, but it has to be mentioned, and I'm going to catch a lot of you guys off by surprise. Jan Blachowicz is declining. And yes, I'm probably the last person you expected to hear that from, because I've always talked about how Jan Blachowicz is to this day one of the best strikers in the business, and he is. But if he goes out there and tries to strike with Alex Pereira, he is going to get KO'd. Mark my words. Jan Blachowicz is not only declining with his speed, but physically as well. He no longer has that big old back. Now it's just old. Jan Blachowicz's body and his muscle has started to atrophy. I have noticed this while watching the tape, and the most important thing that I want to highlight when I talk about Alex Pereira's ability to put this man's lights out is Jan's hand speed. It is no longer the same. It's no longer the same, guys. And I truly believe that if Jan tries to go out there and prove a point, if Jan tries to go out there and test his striking and put on a show for the fans, and I've heard him talk about it on the countdown, and it worries me. Now, he might just be trying to sell the fight and saying that I want to test my striking. This is going to be fireworks. But the way that he's talking about it is I really believe it, because he has that confidence of being able to outstrike the best strikers. We've seen this man shut down Adesanya. We've seen him make him cry. Yo, you don't believe me? He made him cry. Look at this photo right here. I'm telling you guys, Jan Blachowicz thinks right now that he can go out there and strike with anyone. That is going to lead to his demise. Now, I'm not saying he is going to lose this fight. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am telling you is that if this guy tries to go tit for tat with Poatan, he's getting fucked up. All right? He is getting fucked up. And I said the same thing about Alexander Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez. If Volkanovski were to go in there and strike in the first round early, when Yair Rodriguez has that fast twitch ability, when he's the most powerful he'll be throughout the entirety of the fight, he is a fool. If Jan Blachowicz does the same, he is damning himself to defeat. Okay, and we know that this is going to sound a little bit bad, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to say it how it is. If Jan Blachowicz wants to win this fight, okay, he's got to go out there and take a big crippity crap all over the octagon. He's got to stink it up. All right, he's got to stink it up. He's got to say, fuck the fans. I need to get my win money. I need to win this. I'm going to go out here and commit to a takedown, because I've seen holes in his game. I've seen his body deteriorate. And this is all new. And I will say this, while rewatching the tape of Jan Blachowicz, I started rewatching the Magomed Ankalaev fight, and the first thing I noticed is there's something going on with his body. I can't really put my finger on what it is. Then I rewatched the Glover Teixeira fight. All of a sudden, Jan Blachowicz looks like a different man. Looks like he's 10 years younger. His midsection is tight. His back has still got a shitload of muscle on it. I rewatched the Adesanya fight. I see the same thing. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking to myself, this guy's carrying some Darren Till-like flabs into the cage all of a sudden. His back is looking a little less thick, a little flatter. His traps aren't as visible. And then I look at the speed in that Glover Teixeira fight, in which he looked bad, in which he gotten submitted in the second round. The speed was off the charts compared to how it looked in the Magomed Ankalaev fight. And now, mind you, Magomed's very fast. He's much faster than Glover. So the contrast between speed between Jan and Glover and Jan and Magomed is also present. But his hand speed is gone. And this is one of the things that made Jan Blachowicz so dangerous. Not only could he check your leg kicks, not only could he damage your lower half with kicking you and throwing you off. He's got some of the deadliest leg kicks in the game. But he could also knock your lights out if you were too focused on defending what's coming at the legs. I do not think he has the same threat at this point in his career, because his speed has declined and he's more predictable than ever before. And Jan Blachowicz has made a mistake that I've been able to pick up on time and time again, which will feed directly into the game of Alex Pereira. And that is that when he tries to set up his power hand, which is the right hand, he tends to lead with the left hook. And I've seen him get caught by Glover Teixeira doing the same thing. And this is the punch that rocked Jan Blachowicz. Everyone talks about Glover rocking him. This is what happened. Jan Blachowicz tried to catch him with a lead hook to follow up with the right hand. Right as he was trying to connect the right hand, he got smashed with a hook to the jaw. Jan Blachowicz, multiple times throughout the fight with Magomed Ankalaev, would try to lead to the body with a left hook and follow up with the right hand, but because the speed has gone down, he would pay for it and he would get caught by a hook of Magomed Ankalaev. Now think about Magomed and Alex Pereira. Sure, they're both fast, but Alex Pereira, he's got a massive reach advantage over basically everyone. And because he's so tall and long, he can pull back and loop around the guard with that left hook. And if Jan Blachowicz tries to lead with the left hook to the body to follow up with the right, it's going to be noticeable. It's going to be telegraphed, and Alex Pereira is going to knock his lights out and have him snoring on the canvas. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that, and that's why I'm worried. Because I know that Jan Blachowicz can win this fight. He's the only man in the game that can match Alex Pereira's bread and butter when it comes to setting up the big shots, and that's the leg kicks. That's the body kicks. Jan Blachowicz is better than anyone at checking leg kicks. And Alex Pereira, he out-leg kicked Adesanya. He checked a lot of Adesanya's kicks, but he hasn't shown it as much in MMA. I rewatched the Luke Rockhold fight. That was a long time ago. This is the fight in which we think about Jan Blachowicz just KOing Luke Rockhold off of the clinch. But what happened before that is Rockhold has a very kick-heavy approach. Jan Blachowicz checked everything. Checked his body kicks, had the guard up in time to catch the head kicks, and checked all of the leg kicks. All of a sudden, Luke Rockhold's not the same kind of fighter and has to resort to the grappling. Everything becomes more predictable because he's no longer throwing those kicks, and Jan Blachowicz takes advantage of it. Jan Blachowicz, in his fight with Alexander Rakic, the most powerful leg kicker in the game, checked all of his leg kicks, and by the third round, Rakic could hardly even stand. He takes a weird step, he goes down, the fight's over, he can't continue. Checked all of Magomed Ankalaev's kicks and decided, you know what, I've got shins of iron. I'll just start throwing shin on shin because this guy's not reacting well. And because Jan Blachowicz has got such hard shins, he doesn't care if you check them. So that's why he's so dangerous. Everyone loses the leg kick battle to him, and that's something that I'm fascinated to see in this. But Jan Blachowicz' only ability to do work on Pereira is to throw those leg kicks and every once in a while go with that lead kick to the body. That's another weapon that I love from Jan Blachowicz. He's got a beautiful lead kick to the body, the same thing that bruised the ribs of Dominic Reyes and just made him wilt. The same thing that made Devin Clark way back in the day wilt as well. Devin Clark said he got hit with these body kicks and he didn't know how to breathe. You know, he hit Adesanya with these body kicks as well, and every once in a while you'd see Adesanya back up and take a big breath. But the issue is these are really the only attacks I see him having success with at this point in time. And for that reason, I think he has to just go out of the gates and grapple early. Take that Volkanovski-Yair approach right off the bat. And this is how Jan Blachowicz is going to win. And I'll just say this because I can't stand sitting on the fence. I hate it. Usually, guys, I have a prediction right off the bat that I'm going to tell you. But I don't know how Jan Blachowicz approaches this fight. And ultimately, that's what my prediction comes down to. If Jan Blachowicz tries to strike, tries to prove to everyone why he's touted as one of the best in the world, and doesn't acknowledge that his speed has declined and that he should not take the risk in fighting a guy that can put you out with one shot, even though if you can match him in that tit-for-tat range, you have to leave your ego at the door of the cage and you have to dive at this motherfucker's legs. Okay, not literally, but you have to commit to takedowns. Because if he can commit to a takedown on Alex Pereira, I know Pereira's a big guy. I know he was able to stuff a couple of takedowns from Izzy, but we also saw Izzy ground him out, and Izzy beat his ass on the ground. Izzy kind of humiliated him, and Adesanya doesn't really know what the fuck he's doing down there either. When Jan Blachowicz gets on top of people, he frustrates them. And sure, Alex Pereira is a big guy. We look at him kind of like a brick wall, and some people assume that he'll be hard to take down, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how big you are. If your technique isn't there, another guy that's around the same size, if not bigger, in Jan Blachowicz is going to be able to out-finesse you. And I believe that Jan Blachowicz will out-finesse Alex Pereira if he goes in and commits to a takedown off the bat. Because if he gets him down, I've seen Jan Blachowicz do work on Adesanya. And Adesanya is a guy that's got a good scramble to get up to his feet. Adesanya has been serving scrambled eggs to basically every single one of the middleweights that has been able to take him down. And Jan Blachowicz said, no, I'm going to keep you here. I'm going to pass over to half guard, tie up your legs, and just make you tired and make you frustrated. I'm just going to lay on you, make your life miserable, get real heavy, and all of a sudden, once you start to get drained, once your explosions to get back up to your feet aren't the same, I'm going to start to rain down some shots. And that's exactly what he did to edge out the past 2 rounds against Izzy. And when he actually committed to the takedowns, he got them. Jan doesn't shoot a lot, but when he does, he gets them. And he will take Poatan down if he tries. And this is the thing about Pereira. He's been taken down by Michailidis. He's been out-grappled by Izzy. I understand that he's been training with Glover Teixeira. That is excellent. Glover Teixeira has the experience of being able to beat a guy like Jan Blachowicz. But he came into MMA much later than Izzy. It's so hard to pick up the grappling when you are a high-level kickboxer. And at the end of the day, I haven't seen that grappling on display to where I'm going to bank on him being able to get out of these bad positions. And for that reason, I think that if Jan takes him down, he's going to find a submission. Because at the end of the day, if you want to win this fight, if you really want to win, okay, you take the path of least resistance, even if you're stinking it up and the fans are going to be booing and you're not able to find a finish. That's what you got to do to win the fight, because it's just at this point in time with his speed, it's just too risky. And that's what it boils down to. I'm not saying Jan Blachowicz cannot stand with Pereira. I just want to reiterate that. He can stand with him, but he cannot do that to win the fight ultimately. He's got to mix in the takedowns. He's got to do it early. If he doesn't, he is going to eventually try to set up his right hand. It is very predictable at this point in time because his speed is diminished, and Pereira will catch him. Pereira is so fucking fast, all right? And it's not that he throws in combinations and he's catching you off guard with a 1, 2, 3. It's just that he's everything. You know, it's boom, right hand. It's boom, left hook to the body. Because Pereira is so fast and he will take advantage of that. If he can start to just outland Blachowicz on the feet and get, 3 strikes off before Blachowicz even throws one, this is going to frustrate Blachowicz. And if you can get to Jan's ego, if you can frustrate him just a little bit, I've seen him in many moments throughout his fights get frustrated a little bit when someone lands a good shot. He nods, he'll try to get back in their face, he'll try to land one of his own. If Alex Pereira can start to fluster him with the speed, with the singular shots, all of them are very damaging because we know that they're not telegraphed. They come out of nowhere. They come with speed. He's such a big guy that obviously they're all going to have a serious impact on him, especially the low kicks. We talked about the low kicks of Jan Blachowicz. The low kicks of Alex Pereira are insanely impressive because there's no read on them. There's no way to tell that they're coming. His leg kicks are honestly kind of freakish because not only are they fast, there's no tell, and ultimately he has no turn at the hips when he throws them. I genuinely cannot describe how they get to the target. It's something that Izzy talked about after his second fight. He was giving Pereira a lot of credit, saying that we prepared for the leg kicks. We just couldn't do anything about them. There was literally nothing I could do to stop them because there's no way to see it coming. He doesn't have a tell on them. And again, I mentioned how I can't even describe how they get to the target. His leg kicks are nasty. And this is why I'm so excited for the leg kick battle, because Alex Pereira is going to be the trickiest kicker that Jan has ever fought. And we know Jan Blachowicz has such a good game when it comes to shutting down people's kicks and destroying people's shins, because his shins are like iron. And although he doesn't have the same speed, although his kicks are a lot more telegraphed, because his shins are so strong, he doesn't care if you can see them coming because it doesn't matter if you check them. This is the thing. Magomed Ankalaev was trying to check the kicks and Jan just kept slamming them into his shin as if it didn't matter. And ultimately, Magomed's shin was the one that gave out first. And this is the thing that makes Jan so dangerous on the feet with most strikers, is that there's nothing they can do about the kick. Similarly to how there's nothing you can do about Poaton's kick. It's just going to come at some unreal speed, at some weird angle, and you have no way to anticipate it coming. With Jan Blachowicz, you know it's coming, but there's nothing you can do about it. So the leg kick battle is fascinating to think about. But ultimately, how do I see the striking playing out? I think that Poaton's going to come out there throwing singular shots as he normally does, but I think he's going to try to overwhelm Jan with volume. Okay, so I think he's going to be going to a jab to the body. He'll pull back, he'll throw a leg kick. He'll pull back, he'll throw a head kick, a lead head kick. And then he'll come back with a right hand to the body. And he just kind of starts poking at you, but everything is strong and everything's powerful. And he's such a imposing force in the octagon that eventually you kind of feel like you're getting bullied out there. Like, fuck, I can't just keep letting this guy tee off on me, because this is a scary 6'5" kickboxer and everything that he's throwing hurts. I have to do something about this. And I think that Jan Blachowicz, the way in which he reacts to Alex Pereira's start is what's going to dictate the fight. If Jan Blachowicz gets too ahead of himself, if he starts to get flustered and frustrated and starts to move forward and try to get moments back, which he's done in the past, I think he's going to overextend on a big right hand to try to really get the better of Poaton. Because think about it like this. Poaton lands 5 good strikes on Blachowicz. Blachowicz is like behind. He knows he's behind. He's like, fuck it, I want to get that one real shot in. This is going to get, me over the hump of trying to exceed 5 strikes with this one bomb that I have right here. And if he tries to land it, the speed is no longer there. Poaton's going to catch him with the left hook, and that's how Poaton kind of tries to set up these KOs to begin with. If Jan gets frustrated, he's going to fall right into Alex's game. If Jan holds back, if he holds his ground, if he tries to do everything in his power to check those kicks and throw the kicks of his own, and every once in a while counter with a lead kick to the body, or just a simple jab. I love the jab from Jan Blachowicz. If he can stay disciplined, and he cannot think too much about Poaton getting the better of him and overwhelming him early on, and you just stay back and hold your ground and be the brick wall that you're normally able to be to shut people down defensively, then you can find your opportunity to wait for Poaton to throw something wild, to overextend himself, and then you can dunk under something and try to drive through his legs to take him down. That is how we are going to see Jan Blachowicz win this fight. And again, if Jan Blachowicz can ground him, and he's a much bigger guy than Michailidis, the guy that was able to take Poaton down in his first ever UFC fight. He's much bigger than Adesanya. He was able to hold Izzy down, right? And just kind of pancake him and pass his guard and sit there in half guard. If he can do that, I think the fight's over, because that's where he will really show levels and frustrate a guy like Alex Pereira, because Jan Blachowicz has been able to find submissions in his career. This guy submitted Nikita Krylov. He submitted Devin Clark. He's been able to take people down with a lot of accuracy. I've rarely ever seen Jan Blachowicz shoot a takedown and not get it, right? And Izzy's a hard man to take down. Jan was able to do that, right? And I believe that if he can shoot a double leg, he's going to drive through the hips of Pereira. And yes, Pereira is like a brick wall because he's so big, but he just doesn't have the same skill. And ultimately, it's not just strength when it comes to the grappling. There's a lot of skill involved to it too. And I do think he'll be completely out of his wits down there. And he'll get frustrated. And if he exposes his back, it's done. Because if Adesanya can fuck you up on the ground where he looks like a fish out of water himself, and he can kind of just dominate you and bully you and continue to drag you down to your knees and your back is exposed, he's not able to sink in the hooks. He's not able to get a body lock. Well, Blachowicz is. And Blachowicz is not a guy you want on your back. So ultimately, guys, it's so hard to predict this because I don't know how Jan's going to try to fight this fight. But if he tries to go out there and make this fireworks, if he tries to go out there and throw hands with Poaton, if he gets frustrated and tries to lead with his own boxing, he's going to get KO'd. But if he can commit to a takedown and he can get Poaton down while he's dry, it's over. What do I think is actually going to happen? It's so hard to say, man. How often do we really see fighters commit the way they should commit to the path of least resistance? What do you guys think? Do you think Jan Blachowicz is really going to go out there, swallow his pride, and just shoot? Or do you think he's going to stand and bang? Because that's what it boils down to. I think Jan Blachowicz is going to swallow his pride. I think that he's at this point in his career where he has a good team around him. He's wise. And I think he's experienced enough to understand that, you know what, I'm not necessarily able to get away with the same things I was able to get away with in the past. I no longer have the speed, and I have to ground this guy out. This guy is a fish out of water. I've watched this fight with Adesanya. So ultimately, I'm going to go with a first-round submission for Jan Blachowicz, or maybe a second-round submission. But again, very close fight. And if Jan leans into that striking, again, I think he can match Poaton with the defense. I think he can just kind of hold his ground and do his thing and land hard low kicks every once in a while and go to the body and maybe stick a jab on the chin of Poaton. And if Poaton extends, of course, Jan Blachowicz still has that crazy power. He could put Poaton's lights out because, again, now this guy, although he just got KO'd 3 months ago, he might feel a little bit more confident about his chin because, of course, he's now bulked up to 205. I think his cardio is going to be there. Now, this fight is in Salt Lake City, so that definitely plays into account a little bit. If Jan doesn't shoot a takedown early, I think he's going to be the one to tire out first because I have seen Jan get tired in fights just like he did with Magomed Ankalaev. He got tired at the end of that fight and just wasn't able to do anything about the takedowns coming in his direction. I think that Poaton, if he can keep this standing, is obviously going to win. But Jan Blachowicz, I'm going to go with a first-round submission. But again, if Jan tries to lead with that hook to the body or a hook up top and tries to follow it up with the right hand, don't be surprised if we see Alex Pereira catch him throwing that exact combination with the left hook and put him out snoring. So, yeah, guys, I want to know what you think of this fight. Let me know in the comments. Ultimately, I am going with my man Jan Blachowicz, but I have to just say this. It's a whole lot more risky than I thought at first, but I've rewatched the fights, and you'll probably see the same thing. I urge you to rewatch Jan's fight with Magomed and then rewatch his fights with Izzy and guys like Glover. The speed is different. The physique is different. And Poaton's fought at 205 before. He's been a champion in kickboxing at 205 before. And his speed is held up and his power is held up there too. So he's going to be a hard man to deal with on the feet. And although I think Jan overall has done more in MMA as a striker, and just because I think that overall he's proven to be the better striker in MMA, Father Time has caught up with him, and he needs to be smart about this. Until next time. What's up, guys? It's Lucas Tracy MMA here, and I want to know if you're trying to lose some weight, because a lot of people make the mistake of getting too concerned with the little minute details like calories or specific food types. At the end of the day, it's about making a lifestyle switch, and it's also about taking a sustainable approach, because in my opinion, that's the only way in which you're going to have a lifestyle that's conducive to getting in better shape, to leaning out and staying lean in the long run. And if you guys are interested in a sustainable weight loss program, you can check out my 60-day shred. It's on my website, guys. The goal of this program is to teach you principles of weight loss so that when you get the weight off, you're able to keep it off for good. Once again, guys, the link is in the description, guys, and make sure to use code MMA for a 30% discount. Until next time.